Okay.
I knew it. Hey, Rob.
I
owe you. I'm talking. I owe you. I'm talking to you.
2013.
Already accepted.
We just started the meeting just this moment.
Time is 6:30 p.m. Gary Ciccarone,
Here.
Robert Charette, Steve Machowski,
Here.
Jim Freeman,
Here.
Rob Collins,
Here.
Ed Comeau,
Here.
Rich Zacher.
Here.
One member missing.
Okay, we're going to go right to number 4. The possible review of minutes. We'll see what we do after we finish number 4, but let's not keep Bob sitting here listening to our silence while we review minutes. Anyway, as you know, and I wasn't here last week, so, but it's my fault. Basically, we did not accept the application as complete. And the main reason for that was we did not have the signature of the tax assessor clerk who validates the abutters list. It has now been validated, and we have that signature in the appropriate form. I have run this entire packet by Laura Spector. She's seen everything, so. And we're going to talk about our site plan review light process after we finish, but let's take a look at this. As far as our rules of procedure go, and according to the town attorney, we basically have a complete application here. If anybody would like to individually go through the items, actually I will mention, we erroneously constructed a site plan review light which is identical to our site plan review heavy process.
We might want to mention that it's a minor site plan review is the actual list.
Yeah, minor site plan review. Well, our major site plan review and minor site plan review are identical, which makes it absolutely no different. So I'll explain that later.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I recall correctly, I may get this wrong, but my recollection is that we worked hard at trying to create a specific process for minor site plan review.
We did.
And we could imagine cases where, for a particular proposed use, that everything that's on our checklist, we might want that thing. And so I think we decided that we would treat a minor designation as sort of giving us more leeway in terms of waiving specific items. And, with the idea being that we would go on a case-by-case basis, and our whole checklist is still there, but we're likely to waive a lot more things with a lot less. We're expecting to waive more things than a minor site.
Well, this is council's opinion that it has absolutely no relevance in terms of difference from one to the other, except that perhaps it illustrates the board's intent to offer the public that process, although it has no legal relevance. They're both identical, and the planning board can waive anything it feels that it can waive in either one of the processes. So, anyway, that's where we are. So,
one thing I'd like to mention is, as far as the difference between a minor and a major site plan review, is most of the information that will be provided in a major site plan review is already provided and documented in our records, and there's no need for Mr. Bordeau or anybody else to go to any extra expense to provide the information that we already have at hand.
well, that has nothing to do with the fact minor and major site plan review at all. The fact is he supplied us with a major site plan review, just already did the legwork years ago. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about any of this here? Let's look at it as a board. So we've got the cover letter.
So, Mr. Chairman, just so we're all on the same page, our comprehensive application form on page 2 has a place where you can check, sort of which pages 1 and 2 are, sort of which variant of the application is this. Right? Site plan review is on page 2.
Yep.
And it asks for the completion of pages 1 through 8, 11, and 12. And it also lists 4 plats prepared by a licensed New Hampshire surveyor, 1 11x17 copy of the plat, application fees, 1 Mylar with a mailing tube, 3 sets of address label, mailing labels, business envelopes, certified mail forms. So that's what our application says is required to be here.
Yeah, well, we have those things in terms of,
I'm not saying it's there or not there. Just saying this is what our process is.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
So
okay. Well, we have all the previous plats that Bob submitted, and they're valid for the property, and we also have a new plat for the disc golf, which has been submitted, and it illustrates where the disc golf is going relative to what was shown on the original plats he submitted back in the day. They're all within the boundaries of his property. That's self-evident if you take the map of the property and take a look at it. It's obvious that we don't need a surveyor to tell us that. The town attorney seems to think that that is more than sufficient, because I ran this by her, had a look at the map and everything, to provide us with a description of where this is going to take place up there. So I'm not going to go against your advice in that respect.
just a point of order.
Yeah.
Our attorney was not elected to this board. We were.
No.
And it's our position to make the final determination of any of the things that come before this board.
I understand.
So I don't, it sounds like that you're basically saying, because Laura says X, Y, and Z, that we need to do X, Y, and Z. And we may, we're likely to do exactly that. But I think that the implication is...
The implication is that this, which is what we were talking about, the map, passes legal muster.
I think that...
Which is what our consideration should be as a board.
So, I guess my point is more specifically, my point is that we should be looking to our town attorney to help raise flags of things that we might miss and that we should pay attention to.
That's why I said that.
But ultimately, we are the ones who have the obligation to
I understand that. She's not here.
Right, and even if she were here, it's still us that has to make the decision.
That's right.
Okay, so we're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm just not going to argue with her about whether this passes legal muster. I believe she is correct. And I'm not going to go against her. Now, we're talking about the map now, not any...
Well, I don't know what legal muster means in relation to that, but...
That what we require in our ordinances, this satisfies that, in her opinion, legally.
Right, but her opinion almost doesn't matter, right? It's our opinions that matter. It's our jurisdiction to decide that. Now, we, of course, are going to weigh her advice because we're paying her for that advice, but...
That is true. We can go against her if we want. I said I'm not going to go against her for that particular thing. I believe this does, and I agree with her that is an acceptable map of what is going on up there. If anybody has any difference, voice your opinion now, because we're all members of this board.
One question, we do have the proper signatures for the abutters list that has been approved, am I correct?
That's correct, we do have that.
In that case, I see no reason why this wouldn't fill our requirements for minor site plan review, so I would move that we accept this application as it is written for consideration for minor site plan review.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
I think we have to be very, very careful that we follow the process that we documented. If we don't follow that process, I believe the town and the board is vulnerable. Now I don't know the details of the process, but we should follow whatever's documented.
I agree with you, actually.
So as part of this discussion for this motion,
Yep.
can we go through the list of what's in our
That would be my
regulations?
suggestion. Yep.
Okay, maybe
We should go through the list, make sure each thing, item by item, is satisfied before we... But we have a motion on the floor, we're having discussion.
Right, I think that I'm fine with them. I'm happy with the motion's where we need to end up, right? But I feel like we need to go through the list and make sure that everyone on the board is comfortable with or has a chance to voice concerns about any one of the items that are on the list of things that we...
Well, we either have to vote on that motion, or you can withdraw the motion temporarily if you like.
I'm sorry, point of order, Mr. Chairman. We can have extended discussion on that motion.
Oh, absolutely.
But you just can't entertain another motion in the meantime.
Well, yes, but we shouldn't really be discussing all the items on the checklist as discussion about the motion, I think. We should probably...
Well, I think there's two, okay, so there's two parts of this, I think, right? One is on page 2, where it lists the things that a site plan review application should include.
Yeah.
And then part of that list includes a checklist, which we will fill out as part of our decision of whether to approve it or not.
That's right.
I think that, in my feeling, I think we should consider both lists as part of whether or not it's complete, because if we're going to go to the checklist eventually, if there's things that the checklist is going to ask for during our deliberations, I think that informs whether or not we've got enough information to consider this complete, I guess would be my point. We don't have to go through the checklist and decide everything, but we need to make sure we have enough information that we think we will be able to decide when we consider this.
I agree with that.
Well, the acceptance of the application does not mean that we don't have further proceedings to make the final approval.
Well, we are now voting on whether we accept the application as complete, not whether we approve the process. We have to go through the public hearing process and all that business. We are just making sure the application is complete at this point, and that's it. So that's where we are. Now, I think it's a little premature right at the moment to vote on whether it's complete or not without us taking a look at the checklist to making sure that it's complete. Rob's got a perfectly valid point.
And we have had the documentation for, since the meeting before last.
Yeah, but we should...
The only thing we were waiting on was the signature.
He resubmitted this evening.
So this is altered from the last one that we received?
There's the cover letter right there. He just gave us a new cover letter. And it's a resubmission. That may be all that's altered, but nonetheless, as a board, before we vote, we should go through the checklist. It's precisely what he's talking about is exactly right.
Can I amend his motion to just add that?
You can check. I can voluntarily amend.
To add what?
To add the check, that we're going to recheck it, and then we'll vote on it after we check it.
I don't see why we can't do that.
As Rob has discussed, we can have extended discussions. You can ask me if I wish to amend my motion.
Well, as part of the extended discussion, let's go through the checklist. That makes it pretty simple, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there's two lists, right? One is on page 2,
Yep.
and then one is, pages 11 and 12.
Yep, and I gotta grab my book out for that.
I think if we do this right, clearly do
We
it right,
have-
to Rich's point, we're going to...
We want to make
Somebody's
sure
going to be unhappy with what we
the
decide,
base
no matter what we
is correct.
do on any issue,
That's
somebody's going to be
right.
unhappy. But if we follow the rules, at least we got that covered.
Excellent.
I just have to get there.
So while you're turning the pages, could I ask a really naive question? Because I'll demonstrate my ignorance.
Can you demonstrate what page you're on first?
I'm on page 2. I'm on page 2 of the comprehensive application form. It looks like that.
Yep.
So I don't know the difference between a plat and what a Mylar is. What's a, you said that's a plat. I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Well-
but this has 4 plats, and then it has one 11 by 17 copy of that plat. I see 11 by 17 something that you say is a plat. What's the 4?
Well, the plats are of the mountain that he submitted in the last...
So those are the big ones?
Yes.
Okay.
They are on file at the...
Right, so, but he hasn't submitted 4 new ones that have the lines for the holes drawn on them.
No.
I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I'm just trying to make sure I understand what we're asking, what these words ask for, and whether or not we've got them.
We have 4 plats of the mountain on file. This map is done by Norway Plains Associates, illustrating disc golf on the mountain. We, at this point, can do one of 2 things. We can make Mr. Bordeaux go hire a surveyor and come in with this, or we can waive,
Okay,
or
so,
we can waive 4 surveys of disc golf. That's exactly what we have the option of doing. Obviously, the plats were complete 2 years ago.
right, so the only, we looked, last meeting, we pulled those out, I think. and
Yeah.
It looked like it was exactly this, minus the 18 lines that show the
Yep.
18 holes. Is that?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at them. That's pretty much what
So let
it is.
me, so, what's the Mylar? How does the Mylar relate to the plat?
Well,
Just the physical difference.
yeah, it's plastic.
It's the same information,
It's
just
plastic.
The Mylar is,
Plastic,
it's a heavy plastic, and it's done in indelible ink.
so that
Can
you
be altered.
can
This
make
is
reproduction now.
basically a copy of the Mylar.
And
Okay, so
plat
the Mylar is what
provides
gets filed, and
signature.
therefore it can't be changed while it's in
Right.
the county records.
Right.
The plat also, if I'm not mistaken.
Hold on for a minute.
will have
A
signature.
Mylar is a plastic that is reproducible by the town in the event there's fading and any of the other stuff. It doesn't get filed on the Carroll County Hall of Records. We keep that in our files, the Mylar.
Okay, so what's the mailing tube for? Is it just for
Pardon me?
storage, not mailing?
So what?
We asked for a Mylar with a mailing tube. Is the mailing tube for storage?
Yes,
Okay, so it's not actually getting mailed.
no.
Okay, that's where I got confused, I guess, about it going to the county. Okay,
Yeah, it rolls up because you can't fold them because the plastic would crease and break.
so if we were to ask for the 4 plats, that would be this information, just on a larger format.
Well, we've already got a plat, 4 plats of the mountain. And this
Right,
is,
but if we wanted the 18 lines on the plat, it would really just, it doesn't necessarily give us a lot of extra information because the 18 lines are, I don't know, pretty self-evident sort of there, right? I mean,
yeah,
okay. So we also saw large sheets, I won't call them plats because they may not have been plats, large sheets that showed things like the contour lines and so on, the grade. Are those part of the plats or not?
actually, no. A plat doesn't have anything to do with contour lines. Contour lines is a separate entity.
Okay.
And that's USGS, Geological Survey data, that you pull off the internet. Even the surveyors pull it off the internet because that's where they get, nobody shoots the topo, they take it off USGS maps. And that's not part of a plat.
Okay.
A plat is basically boundary lines and any activity that's on the property. Retention ponds, this, that, and the other thing. Contours may be shown on a plat if they affect water runoff and things like that, if you're putting impervious surfaces in or buildings. So you might show contours for that reason, or for access roads that have to be installed within a certain degree of pitch, like no, it's not to exceed 12%. Then you would show contours in a plat, but that's not normally considered part of a plat, unless there's a reason to ask for those things. So,
Okay, thank you. Anyway, so,
okay.
I think, is everyone on the same page now?
Yes.
As far as, okay. So, Mr. Chairman, you have there's one copy of the application at the table here, is that right?
No, there's everybody, did I give you yours?
I don't have a
He
copy.
came in late.
Okay, I think I put it over this window. Here's one.
Okay.
The only thing, and there's a cover letter too, hold on.
That's the cover letter, right?
Wait a minute, let me read the front.
This can't be the whole application because it's only
No.
2 sheets.
Well, no, hold on. Get rid of this. Bob already submitted tonight with a new application letter. Make sure I'm giving you the right one.
Should I pass these out?
Pardon me?
Should I pass these out? This should be the new one.
Okay, yeah, that's the new one. Give one to Rob. I think I gave everybody else one. I apologize, Rob.
No, it's okay.
You walked in late. Not late, you walked in a half a second late, actually.
No, half a second is late.
All right. Yeah, that's the new letter. Now, all of the other things, we don't all get a copy of. The butters list, the mailing labels, etc., but they are here for anybody to take a look at if they'd like. Here is the application.
So do we have page one?
Use the same way.
I'm just trying to,
Yeah, no, yeah.
Do we have page
Yeah,
one?
where is it? Hold on.
I would assume we do, but
No, that page one is the,
page one looks like this. It says Appendix B at the top.
hold on a minute. I'm going there.
It has a signature.
This is just the last paragraph. One I was asking the waivers. George, so we have a copy of this page? I think we do, but we have a copy of this page with his signature authorizing us to go look at the property.
I don't believe so, no.
Did you fill out that?
Yes, I did.
I've seen it. I just don't know where it is. Do we have it here? Let's make sure.
Should be if it is. Nothing like that.
Let's take a look, because I've seen it. And I'm trying to find it here.
I actually submitted every page of the application
Yeah.
except for 11 and 12, which is the actual waiver request.
Make sure it's not in the wrong order. I just wasn't here last week, so I didn't look at this, and I haven't had a chance to review it all week. I don't see Appendix B here. That's pretty correctable, though.
It's an easy one to fill out.
That's right. George,
Yes.
do you have an Appendix B for Bob to sign? Basically, what Appendix B is, I'll read it to you. Signature acknowledges consent by you. Allows Brookfield Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and such agent, employees of town, other persons as the planning board may authorize to enter public property which is subject of the application by appointment for purposes of such examination, surveys, tests, and inspections as may be appropriate.
I remember that.
So you need to put your John Hancock on that one. Get your pen.
Coming right at you.
George will bring it up.
Do we have page two?
Huh?
Do we have page two?
Page 2.
I think all it needs is an X on.
I don't think that this is part of the application form, page 2, but,
I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, it says pages 1 through 8. That would include page 2.
okay.
I agree. It's something, if he didn't submit it, it's easily rectified right now.
Yeah. I don't think he needs to sign it.
Nope,
Just
just
include
next.
it.
Just
I don't
next.
even- Yeah, just include
Saying he
it.
wants site plan review.
He signed it.
Page 2. Page 2.
That's
too.
page 1.
This is page 2.
It's a two-sided document.
Okay, sorry. I'll take a copy of this.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go on here. After we get page 2 with this.
So when I put an X on site, or a check mark on site plan review on page 2,
Pardon me?
on page 2 should have a check mark or an X or something like that on site plan review. Just the idea, this section of the application tells us what
Come and check mark this, Bob. I don't want to do it for you.
he's applying,
That might
what
be
kind
considered
of thing he's
appropriate.
applying for.
Site plan review, second one down.
All right.
Let's have that. Rob's keeping us honest.
Page 3. See it right there.
There we have it. Let's put this way. Page 4.
I'm sorry, just can we, does page 3 look complete? Just,
Everything's filled out. except for County Registry of Deeds, book plate, and but.
What is that for? Is that the deed? The deed for the property? It's supposed to reference where it is in the...
Yeah, it does kind of apply for an application to be scheduled for a hearing. Name of applicant agent, if other than property owner, be certain to attach certification required signature. The agent has, okay. We have 30 lot 2, there's no subdivision. You got the old one, George? Take a look at it.
You're reading it like that, so we don't get anything else mixed in there. Yeah, so we can find that page on the original one, that should be easily filled in, right?
Yeah,
Unless we...
Okay. Well, we have it. 2719518. Thank you.
You okay with him changing your application for you?
On bond? I knew you had it, and I didn't know it off the top of my head.
We're not changing
So I
the
haven't put it in.
Yeah, I mean, this documentation is more for future boards.
Right, here we go.
If there's a lawsuit.
Let's leave that right there for the moment, in case we want to get there again.
So page 3 looks complete enough?
It is complete.
All
There's
right.
nothing there beside that. There is no subdivision, so there won't be a subdivision name.
Page 4.
Overlay, total acreage 670, proposed number of lots not applicable. Overlay districts, other regulations affecting subject property.
Yeah, you gotta check some more things here. There's a bunch of yes, nos. I think they're all gonna be done.
Yeah, they are almost. There's no scenic road.
Yeah,
Well,
it was very difficult because, I was watching your minutes in the board action and you were trying to do a minor. So, when you get a major application put in front of you and you spent 4 months trying to develop a minor, it's really confusing on just what I need to fill out. I mean, if you wanted me to fill out a major, you shouldn't have spent 4 months trying to develop a minor. I would have just done a major, so.
Yep.
So it was real difficult filling out your app because I really didn't, we should have just done a major and it would have been easy.
Yeah.
But, it seemed like the board spent 4 months doing a minor for a reason, so that's it was difficult, but, if you think I'm shorting you on anything.
So are you asking for us to eventually waive the requirement of filling out those check boxes? Because you've answered them previously. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. We haven't really changed any of that. And again, when we get to page 11 and 12 are going to be the most difficult pages. And again, that's why I fill out every application but 11 and 12 because I don't really know where to go.
I think on 11
with
and 12.
This minor major thing,
I think on 11 and 12, all you would fill out anywhere.
They're all
would be
no's.
The top, which is your name, basically,
Yeah.
right? I think that's all you have to fill out on 11
Well,
and
that's
12.
the one where, you want the topo and the plats and that's.
Well, those are at the discretion.
all of these are filled. We already possess that documentation.
Awesome.
So, again, it was, as I, not trying to hide anything from the board, but as I went through the process, it was.
The only thing necessary in 11, 12, that's at the discretion of the board, whether to waive or not to waive those individual.
Correct, yeah. So I just.
Okay, so page 4 looks complete. Page 5, which is
The fee application fee schedule, which that is complete, and we have a check for it.
And
This
again,
is the
that's-
old one, and it's the same as the new one.
That's a major fee
Even though the-
schedule, and I just,
Yep.
not knowing what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I think
Minor.
our intent was the fee schedule is the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's
fine.
exactly what I wanted. Okay, there are no additional costs for application.
So,
Let's see.
so page 5 is okay, because that's the fee schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, page 6.
All right, well, let me get rid of 4A here. Let's look at page 6 here.
Well, the number, you're looking at the old application, the number may have changed. So
I'm going to page 6 now.
okay, page 6 is the rest of the fee schedule and some signatures. Did you submit page 6?
I believe I did. It worked out to a total on the bottom.
Yeah, there's there's also page 6, additional costs.
I might not have if it didn't apply. I just see page 6 real quick.
Yeah,
3.
but the only issue might be that it has a signature, this is correct, right, this is a signature of the planning board.
I did not, because these didn't apply to it, and then, of course, they're not my signature, so I did not submit the blank page, for an unfilled out page.
All right, what page is that in the old act? Hold on.
I don't know about the old act.
Let's find
This
out.
would be the end of the fee schedule. Fee schedule, at least now, is 2 pages. And there's what falls on page 6 now is
Let me go.
additional costs. Yeah, it's the same as the old.
And this isn't filled out. Okay, this is to do with the additional costs.
Right, if we had engineering or
Yeah, there's
with that.
nothing relevant there, so page 6 is, that is page 4A before it is now page 6, so.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that even if we're going to leave it blank, that we print out a copy of page 6 blank and have it as part of the application to make it clear that it was submitted and that it was blank?
Well, I don't know that it's
Or write
necessary,
an
we
A
already have it
or-
in the original. I don't know that we need it here, but I suppose you could add it for redundancy, but, I mean, basically what we're doing is saying whatever that he has supplied in the original, we're not requiring the same thing to be supplied again necessarily because we have a minor site plan review process, but if it would make you feel better to put a blank page in there, George, would you print this?
My concern would be that in the future, somebody could go back and look and say, oh, there was supposed to be page 6, there's no page 6.
Okay,
What was on page 6, right? If we have the page 6 in there, then we
they'll
know.
look over here and find page 4A, but they'll know because it's in our ordinance, it's based. They'll find out what page 6 was, and I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, we can't use this one, this is 4A.
Yeah,
Take a copy of 6.
George is making a copy of 6.
I mean, of course, they'll look in our ordinance and see, oh, that's why they didn't.
No, this would have changed, right? I mean, if you had to pull out the version of the ordinance, of the regulation that was applicable when you did the major site plan review, how hard would that be to find out? It wouldn't be easy.
Well, it would be the second page after the fee schedule. All right, we'll put it here. It's there, it's done.
Okay, 6 is there. 7.
Well, let's take a look at 7. That's, he has, and Mr. My agent is here, okay. Nobody's being authorized here as an agent as I read this.
Yeah, that looks complete to me. I mean, I don't know if anyone else wants to look at it.
Anybody want to look at this?
Page 8.
Let's take a look. I want to see about this other stuff that's in here first. Okay, 6 is 8 on the butter notification form.
And that's got a signature on it now,
And
right?
that's got Jessica Robichaux's signatures, that is complete. Jessica's signatures on this, and that is complete.
So, Mr. Chairman, we have, there's a requirement, currency requirement on the abutter that has to be 5 days, no more than 5 days before the date of filing the application. And I know we've given you the runaround on when we're looking at this. Is that just for the record, Jessica, what date was Jessica's signature on there? Can we tell?
It was, yeah, I do, it was the night of the selectmen's meeting, it was Tuesday. Today is Monday, so it was 6
Okay,
days ago.
So we've met the current, it's current.
Yep,
Good.
I was here when she signed it, and gave it to
You
her to
asked
sign.
on the way into the meeting to sign it, make
Yeah.
sure it was properly checked.
So that was 8, now we need
11 of 12.
11 and 12, which are the checklist, which I think Mr. Bordeau said he didn't submit.
Correct.
He's supposed to give us basically blank pages, his name and map and lot number at the top. So, but that's what we would go through in order to,
Yep.
to check off everything.
I spoke with him about that, and I said that we would. Sorry about that, folks. Beg your pardon. Wherever they are, they're gone now.
Turn mine off. 3 o'clock.
That is
So
a
they can get a call
policy.
tonight. Okay, where were we here?
Pages 11 and 12.
11 and 12, that's the checklists. We spoke of that. And while I was coming to the meeting, I said, we will go through that at the meeting. So there's no conflict on what is not checked off versus what is checked off versus what the board wants checked off. Simply because we've only done this site plan review process once in history. And it's our second time, so it makes it a little easier on the board as well as the citizen to do it that way. And it's only going to take us a few minutes. So, George, I need the checklists if you can get them.
It's pages 11 and 12.
Yeah, 11 and 12. I managed to keep your application in order too. Wouldn't trash it yet. I wasn't arguing with you about whether the board can do what it wants. It can. All I was concerned was, does this pass legal muster with our ordinances? And she reviewed that and said yes. That's her legal opinion, because that's where the challenge will come if it comes in a legal fashion. And that's what I wanted to avoid. So I would rely on her opinion as to whether that passes muster according to our ordinances. She reviewed the whole package. I would say we can supersede that anytime we want. Anyway, let's go there. Site plan review checklist. Bob, I would ask you, actually, we'll fill this out. Name? We're going to fill this out. You find that acceptable? Fine. Okay. This is a minor site plan review.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Just to make sure the record's clear, would you enter? Well, we were in a motion on the table. My suggestion would be that we make a clear vote on whether this qualifies for a minor. There's a criteria in our rules, and just...
What's the criteria? Read the criteria in the rules, Rob.
Okay. Well, you know I have that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the checklist should be done as review of the application, not whether the application is acceptable, but when we go into full review of the application of the site plan.
So if there's a column labeled submitted, right, so I hear what you're saying.
As long as we have what is necessary for submittal for the minor site plan review, we can vote to accept it, and we can go through the checklist after acceptance of the application. That's what the checklist is for our consideration.
Remember, we are here determining whether the application is complete.
Yes.
That is all we are determining right now. We are not going to accept any proposals. And this checklist has to do with whether the application is complete, as I understand how this works.
Well, Mr. Chair, this is for consideration of the application, so the subject that is applied for, not whether or not we have all the necessary information to review the application, whether we have the necessary information so that we can review it. The checklist is for review.
No, the checklist, the site plan review checklist
It's getting a little long here.
has to do with all of these things that he submitted. And for us to accept it as complete, we have to make sure that he has submitted all of these things, or otherwise we have to reject its completeness. So we're going through the site plan review checklist, or we cannot accept this as complete and then set it up for public hearing. Is everybody else on the same page as that? Or?
I think I agree with what you're saying.
If we don't go through this now and something's missing, and we accept it as complete, that means we've made a mistake. It's not complete, and we've accepted it as complete.
But we're not considering the merits of the application.
We're just making sure it's
the information that we require for Mr. Bordeau to...
Well, we're going to do it this way. Anyway,
So Jim, the rationale is that we don't want to have, we don't want to have the public hearing,
I
if the public doesn't have
understand the
enough
rationale.
information to,
I fully understand
Determine
the
what to
rationale.
do.
It's
Site
whether or
plan
not we
review.
have the information that Mr. Bordeaux is required to submit, not whether or not we accept
Read it to the
individual merits of it.
Okay, Jim?
Read this.
I would just ask the chairman to read this.
Yes, please.
On page 2 of the comprehensive application, which is in the rules of procedure, the second bold print down says site plan review, complete pages 1 through 8, 11, 12, and include the following, and it has the full package set.
Yes.
And this is 11 and 12.
Was that for acceptance on the application?
That's correct. We cannot accept it as complete without going through this, because it only is complete if 11 and 12 are executed. And we're gonna assist Mr. Bordeaux executing them here.
well, we have to fill it, we need to fill this stuff in.
Ourselves.
Or I think the bottom part of it. So,
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, or, I'm sorry, Jim, would you mind withdrawing your motion, just so we can, when we did this before, we had a motion per item, so we could say, move to waive it, move to accept it as complete
Yep.
on each of these items, and if we can't make another motion with the
A
motion
motion
to
on the
accept
floor.
on the floor.
Withdraw it for now, then go ahead and submit it again later. How about that? If you don't, we'll vote on it.
Yeah, we'll just vote it down, and then
Yeah,
we'll,
then we'll start again. It's up to you to withdraw or we vote on it.
All right, I'll withdraw.
Either way.
Second?
Well, he's withdrawing the motion. Okay,
so the first.
here we are.
Mr. Chairman.
Number 1, the name of the project, names and address of owners.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we determine that the minor site plan review applies here.
Read the difference between minor and major site plan review.
Got a motion, you have to either ask for a second or. I
Well,
withdraw,
I'm sure-
I withdraw my motion. So minor site plan review has to meet 8 criteria. 1, and this is on page 3 of 12 in the site plan review regulations, amended 1/14/2013. 1, the purpose of the plan is for a change of use or expansion of present use. 2, the site plan will have a minimum traffic impact on the surrounding road network. 3, there's no alteration of access to public streets. 4, minimum lot grading. 5, minor drainage improvements are required to accommodate any increased drainage due to improvements. 6, increase of the floor area of up to 1,000 square feet. 7, addition of up to 2,000 square feet of impermeable surface. 8, there are no unusual or special conditions which require full site plan review. Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that this application meets the 8 criteria of minor site plan review.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? I have a little bit. Our major site plan review and minor site plan review are exactly identical, so it's irrelevant, but let's vote on it now. Anybody else want to discuss it? All in favor? Aye. Okay, this is a minor site plan review.
Check for anyone opposed to it?
Pardon me?
You can check for anyone opposed to the...
Oh yeah, anyone opposed? I heard ayes from everybody. Anyone, any dissenters? No. Name of, we're going to go through these item by item. It's the same as we did for the original site plan review. The name of the project, names, addresses, owners of record, tax map, and lot number. We have that right here. Oh, I gotta get the right page. 3. So we have that.
Yep.
Anybody want to see page 3? Because I didn't pass that out with everyone.
I'm sorry, you lost me in. What are you doing?
Okay, we're going through the site plan review checklist item by item.
And you're on number 1?
We're on number 1.
All right.
And the first one is the name of the project, names and addresses of owners. That's page 3. We don't all have copies of his entire application simply because it's a waste of paper. We can take a look at this individually if anybody wishes to. I'm looking at it right now. I see it's here. Anybody else? Perfectly. Everybody satisfied that it meets the requirement?
Yes.
Good word for it.
Okay.
Do you want a motion on the ones
We're going to have to move and vote on every single one of these.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that number 1 was submitted.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That is submitted. Number 2, North Arrow, date of plat, scale, name, address, and seal of person preparing flat signature block.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive requirement number 2 on the checklist
We have requirement number 2.
because it was previously submitted.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
I don't think...
Yes, that was the motion.
Well, is anybody going to second it?
Steve seconded.
Second.
You second it?
Yeah.
Discussion. I don't think we can waive something that's already been submitted. And it's already been submitted. That was exactly Attorney Spector's point to me, is that you cannot waive things that have already been submitted. And it has been submitted. We're either going to accept that,
Okay,
or
so
we're not going to accept it.
So your point is that we should mark it as submitted in the previous application.
In the previous application.
I withdraw my motion. Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that item number 2 was submitted in the 2010 application.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that item number 3, the vicinity sketch, was submitted in the 2010 application.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. Number 4, abutters and uses of abutting land within 200 feet of the site.
I believe, did we waive? We waived, partially waived this in the
We
previous
did.
application,
We
right?
waived that. And that's one of the things, I think we may have, we didn't correct that one. We should have. Within 200 feet of the site. I can't remember, we argued this point, but let's look at the previous one.
I'm pretty sure in one of the narratives of the cover letter, in one of the cover letters, we talked about the residential houses and we did.
No, I understand that,
we
but there
did
was an
cover
issue
that in
about
the
that.
original application.
Yeah, I just want to see whether we marked that as submitted previously or whether we waived it previously.
I don't think the checklist is there. I think maybe further down, but maybe not. Here it is. That's the one we use.
Nothing's marked. There we go.
Within 200 feet of the site. We accepted that as submitted.
It was in one of the narratives in the paperwork that we submitted in the application.
First of all, the butters and land within 200 feet of the site, I think that's a poor way to write that. I think we could address that as a board this year. It's a minor change, because 200 feet of the site, I don't think you can get a piece of land within 200 feet of the site that's not a butter, but I could be wrong. You know, the narrow strip of land along the front on the roadside, but even then, across that street, the person may not be a butter, he may be within 200 feet. You know what I mean?
And
Do you know what I'm talking about?
And this asks for the uses of that land as well, which, I mean, in this case, it's probably all residential.
It's all residential,
but-
so
Or it might be agricultural, it might be,
so
some.
it's RA. Yeah. Well, I guess my point is, on the map, if you look at the map, and I don't have the property map here, but it might be.
So I think, Mr. Chairman, I guess the question is, are we satisfied with what Mrs. Martis submitted in the last application? Are we satisfied with that he submitted enough?
I am satisfied with it, yes.
So you entertain the motion to say that
I
this
will
is-
entertain any motion that you want to make.
Mr. Chairman, I move that item number 4 was submitted in the 2010 application.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I guess
Opposed?
I should chance discussion. I don't know what was in that application, so I guess I should abstain. I mean, if someone says to me, why did you vote for that, I gotta abstain, because I don't know what was in the application.
Okay,
That's fair enough.
yeah, that's fair enough.
So, did you
Mark down
one abstention?
One
one abstention. And know who it is, just because it would be moved that Rick to be able to say that was me, if a question ever arose. So, we're going to put that there. Now, number 5.
So number 5, the boundary lines was waived in the 2010 application. So you're suggesting that we would, assuming that we're happy with that, we would waive it again?
Well, boundary lines, dimensions, and bearings, lots area in acres and square feet, and total disturbed area in square feet. I'm just trying to think back why we would have waived that, and probably because...
I can tell you why you waived it.
Go ahead.
You waived it because the 670 acres, and the survey of 670 acres to use the front parcel would be ridiculous. And that's why it was waived. And again, to survey 670 acres to have the disc golf in the front again would be
So instead you've surveyed...
We surveyed the front part.
Right.
We surveyed the lodge, the septic, everything that you have on that drawing was accurate, but we did not survey 670 acres.
So did you survey the portion... I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's your meeting.
It's okay. This does not ask for a licensed survey.
I understand.
This can be a survey, according to the way this is written, it could be a drawing created and submitted by Mr. Bordeau himself, unless it says by a licensed surveyor. So I think that has something to do with why we waived it as well. Because we have a drawing of the map of the mountain, and all the things he was doing was on the front side, and we didn't want to have him incur the expense of surveying, since we weren't asking for a surveyor.
And we took into consideration the area of usage,
Yeah, absolutely.
so that we don't put any unnecessary cost on Mr. Bordeaux.
So are we expecting that disc golf is... I don't know what disturbed area, what the specific definition of that is. Are we expecting that disc golf would disturb area? Is disturbed area the stuff you dig up, or is it enough that you chop down trees or whatever, light grading or whatever you might do? What's disturbed area?
That would be grading, any type of land alteration.
I
Cutting down a
think
tree or
if
two on somebody's personal property really is not concern.
I think he's pegged it. I don't think that cutting a bush or a tree has anything to do with disturbed area. I think it's as soon as you excavate. If you start digging holes.
You're not excavating for disc golf, or you are? Not at all?
Well, I mean, we have to dig a hole to set the basket and stuff, but we're not reshaping the land in any fashion, no.
So he's not altering the contour of any of the property.
No.
Right. You're digging 1,800 square feet out of 670 acres to put your 18 holes or whatever.
Yeah, it's really minuscule.
Rob, you probably dig more when you do your garden.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I've played disc golf. It's not, the holes aren't big. So we previously waived this. You want a motion to waive this again?
I don't want to make motions. I
will move to waive the requirement for survey. That would be item number.
Well, there's no requirement for survey here.
It's item number 5.
Item number 5, yes. I would move to waive item number 5. Checklist.
Second.
Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? We are going to waive it. We waived it last time and it flew, so we're not going to shoot the plane down. Number 6, shape, size, height, location, use of existing and proposed structures located on the site.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we waive this. There are no alterations to any of the buildings or structures on the site.
There's no alterations. What they're asking for is the shape, size, height, location, and use of existing.
We have all of that information from the
Yes.
prior application. I would move that we accept that as applied.
As submitted, okay.
Submitted.
Is that what you're moving at?
Yes.
Moving, okay.
Second.
Okay, we've had a motion that accepts number 6 as submitted in the previous site plan review, and we have a second. Any further
I'm
discussion?
sorry, Mr. Chairman, was the motion,
The motion was to accept the previous application as,
okay, the previous application I had marked as NA.
Not applicable.
it was submitted with the full plot. Remember, we both reviewed, you were an alternate at the time. We all reviewed. Shape, size, height of all building structures.
We didn't ask him to do that last
It
time.
was on, it was there.
It was what?
Well, all the shapes and sizes of the buildings were on the plot that was submitted.
Just the footprints, not the shapes
Or height.
or heights. That wasn't on there, just the footprint only. So, if we put this as submitted, then we need to have pictures of all the shapes.
Let me revise my motion.
Okay,
I would move that we consider item number 6 as not applicable to this application.
I'll second that. Any further discussion on this?
Does the existing, the current, does the new application say no changes to structure?
Yes, there is, he's not putting any buildings up or anything like that.
Well, it's stated, yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
Huh?
He hasn't asked for a vote.
Did you have?
He's marking on the paper, I'm just voting for it.
Yeah, oh, he's marking it already. Okay.
Aye, okay.
We should probably have
There was a
vote
motion.
on that.
All in favor, I'm sorry, did I read that? Aye, all in favor, aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Number 7, location, name, and widths of any existing and proposed roads on the property and within 200 feet of the site. That's number 7. That's submitted on the existing plot that was submitted before.
I would move that we accept it as previously submitted.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes, I abstain.
Location of existing and proposed sidewalks. That was number 7. We're on 8.
Rich wasn't involved in the previous.
Pardon me?
Oh, just as far as the section.
Number 8, location of existing and proposed sidewalks and driveways and indication of travel for both pedestrian and vehicular traffic. We described that as not applicable previously. I don't see any change in the relevancy of that on this application for disc golf. Anybody else like to comment on that?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 8 on the checklist to be not applicable to this application.
A second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Number 8 is not applicable. Number 9, access to the site distance at access points, curb cuts, any proposed changes to existing streets, and copies of driveway permits. Access to the site distances at access points. I think we made this non-applicable simply because that was all existing prior and the sight lines were good. And there were no proposed changes to any existing streets, and there was no driveway permit required because that was already in existence. I remember that when we did this. And that's also an NA. And I believe it's the same.
I would move that we consider item number 9 as not applicable to this application.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? And number 9 is not applicable. Number 10, Location and type of natural existing and proposed exterior, Location and number of parking spaces and loading space.
That was submitted with the last,
That's on the other plat.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that number 10 was submitted as part of the 2010 application.
second.
All right, I've got a question.
Yep.
Is NA waived, or is NA?
Not applicable.
Not applicable to the application.
So it's essentially waived, yes.
Yeah. But waived can mean it's applicable, but we're waiving it. But not applicable means it's not applicable in this instance, which means there's no waiver or submittal required. A waiver can be waived. If something's minor enough, you can waive something that's applicable.
Or if the board consider it.
If the board considers that an item, they can be waived.
Yeah, undue duress.
But not applicable means, in this particular case, something already in existence, you don't need to get a driveway permit for a driveway that's already there. So that's not applicable.
So,
You
so
know.
I think that to Rich's point, one of the changes we might consider to the checklist would be to add a third column
Yes,
that would be NA.
yes.
Right, so we'd have submitted, waived, NA, and then we'd be checking the NA box rather than having mark.
suppose.
Right, I think that that would make it clear that we have the option of saying that something doesn't apply. Is that was your point you were making?
That was my point. What is an NA? You have submitted or waived, not NA.
Right, I think NA is the third mystery column that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's something that we should consider.
I think anybody reading this will get the point, but okay. We can do that next year. Or that's housekeeping, actually, we can do it anytime, I think. That was number 10. Where are we, George?
We haven't called the vote on it.
Right, where are we? I just asked you number 10.
We have the second from Jim Freeman.
Okay,
Ron Collins.
we're having discussion, let's see, further discussion. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes. Abstain.
Okay, that was submitted. Okay, number 11, proposed landscaping plan, location, type, and size of all existing proposed landscaping and screening, that's 11. We did another NA there because there was no proposed landscaping going to be done.
No.
And no screening required.
You doing landscaping related to this?
Are there any changes?
Just
at all?
trimming brush.
No, just trimming back
Trim
brush.
trees and
trees.
stuff, I can't think of any application where we're planting anything, it's mostly just trimming, cutting
Just
those.
trimming and cutting, so.
I don't think that falls under the purview of landscaping.
No.
I would move that we consider item number 11 not applicable to the application.
Second.
Yeah. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Okay, that is non-applicable.
How's your hand doing, George?
Yeah, 12, location, type, and nature of all existing and proposed exterior lighting.
Bob, this would be all daytime activity?
Daytime
So there'd be no
activity,
additional
no
lighting?
nighttime, nothing.
Well, we have your proposed location and type of all the existing and proposed exterior lighting on the previous plan.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that number 12 was submitted as part of the 2010 application.
Second.
Any discussion on this matter? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Okay. 13, natural features, streams, ponds, wetlands, etc.
This is all previously submitted as far as what was on the property itself.
Yeah, Fraggle Rock did the
I would move that this was.
Go ahead.
I would question whether this was submitted only because I recall that some portions, like you mentioned, the contour lines were restricted to the area that you were using for the tubing and the lodge and stuff, right? Is there part of the area that's being used for disc golf that wasn't covered by that?
You know, we're right at that front brook, but the brook is shown on the plans, and when Fraggle Rock did my pond, and they showed the brook running down the property, so I think Fraggle Rock picked all that up.
So there's no wetlands away from the stream in the disc golf area?
No, it's all right.
We can look at that if anybody wants to review that.
I would feel better if
We have the report. Let's take a look at it. George, do you have access to that?
this is all.
Is the Fraggle Rock in here?
I believe so.
All right, let's take a look at it and see what the heck.
So would that have been shown on the map, or is that in a text report? Or the map's in the text report?
Well, I don't know, we're gonna get there, I can't remember.
Fraggle
Fraggle Rock.
Rock, he had some maps.
Yeah, Fraggle Rock, the Environmental Service, we'll take a look and see what it's got here. Let's tear it up.
So were they, as part of that, they were looking at mapping the wetlands?
Yes, when they did the pond, they had to, I don't know what the regulations was, but they had to map the wetlands quite a ways up from that. He flagged, quite an area. And again, we're kind of by the brook on hole 2, 4, and 5, and Fraggle Rock goes well beyond that with their mapping.
Does it extend up the hill, though, to?
Well, it goes up the hill, but that's ski slope, I mean.
So no wetlands?
It's snow machine trails and ski hills, no.
Okay. Minimum impact project criteria. According to Fraggle Rock, all the impacts have been checked off as no impact in that page.
Yeah, that project didn't include the disc golf area. So, I mean, I'm not saying disc golf is likely to impact anything, but I think we cover our bases if we can cross our I's and dot our T's as well as possible here.
I think there's some maps in there, and then if you look at the plan.
We're going to in a minute. We're going to get there.
With hole 3, 4, 5, that should show that in the area as well.
See, a lot of times in a piece of property like this, people from Fraggle Rock, who are soil scientists and water specialists, will not draw a map of the entire property because their focus is on the impact area, although the entire property may contribute to the impact. And I'm sure that if we look in the verbiage here, because this went through the state, the verbiage has to do with the parcel as it is reflected in the water runoff and the retention pond construction, which is what they built here. In other words, they're taking into account, when they build a retention pond, the property. They haven't drawn the whole property in their Fraggle Rock map, but depending on how thorough you want to be, we can go and read the stuff that Fraggle Rock has written and what their intent is here. Let me see what this map is. And that will tell us. Yeah. Here's the building, right here. Pull up a map of the parcel. Look at it. Okay. One inch is 80 feet. Anybody got a ruler? George got a ruler? No ruler. We can figure this out. Got an index card?
What are you trying to find out?
Well, I'm scaling something off a
Oh,
map.
what's the question we're going after? What number?
We're looking at number 13, natural features, streams, ponds,
Ponds, wetlands, etc. Fraggle Rock did a study on this.
So do we have one that shows the natural streams?
Yeah, we have all that. But Rob had a question about the impact.
No, specifically my question was, do we have a map that shows wetlands in the Gulf area? That shows there are no wetlands in the Gulf area. I think the issue with, the reason we have number 13 here is because we want to understand, have enough information to understand what the impact would be to wetlands, et cetera, right? And if hole number 6, wherever that happens to be, like, is it, you know, crosses a stream or something like that, we may want to say, oh yeah, you do that, but you need to put a bridge, a footbridge across the stream or whatever, right? I mean, if there are no wetlands, great, but I think we need to have enough information to see that there are no wetlands.
No, I can't use that. Index card. Got the index card?
Map show that
Anything will do that.
That's the question, is do we have a map from the 2010 application that shows there are no wetlands or what wetlands there are in the Gulf area, right? Because at least looking at the map, it looks like
There are no wetlands.
Golf goes outside of
There's no wetlands.
the two
Index
area.
cards or anything?
But this is 11 inches.
Oh, no, I don't want that. I'll find something. There's a way to do this. Just give me a moment.
Mr. Chairman, does that map show wetlands?
There are no wetlands there.
That answers the question.
You gotta understand with the disc golf, we're working around the brook and it's part of the scene.
You don't understand what I'm
nature,
saying.
but again, to have someone hiking a wetland, you know, they're not coming back the second time.
All that is irrelevant. Here's the relevance
Shut
use.
my
I do
course.
this all the time.
I know, I understand that.
The relevance has got nothing to do with whether we're walking in wetlands. You're allowed to walk in wetlands. The question here that this issue specifically addresses, is there an impact on wetlands of this thing? Mostly because are they doing any development of the site? But it's the impact on wetlands, which is not necessarily whether there's wetlands on the site. Say you were paving something, there'd be an impact on the wetlands, which could be 50 feet away. I just want to find something out. Here's one of the issues, number one, and I got to find this out. And then we can go there. Anybody has any concerns, they can address it. 1 inch equals 80 feet. Let me see if that works. Yeah, this is scale, believe it or not. All right. Okay, 320 feet. Interesting. From the lodge. 320 feet. Do that again. That's 320 feet. Approximately another 160. Oh, 400 feet. Okay. Now we go to this scale, and we go to the lodge. This shows the property lines. This does not show the property lines. In other words, this is a map, but doesn't show the entire property line, and it scales out at 400 feet to the last disc hole. I'm just curious to see where we are from the property line, and this is 1 inch equals 100 feet. And this is to scale as well. 1 inch equals 100 feet. We got the inches on the other side. So 400 feet. Okay. 400 feet is that way. He's approximately 700 feet from the property line, and the disc golf is going to be 400 feet, 300 feet from the property line. That's where it's going to end. If I had a scale here, I could give it to you exactly, but it's approximately.
That's not what number 13 says.
Well, it has a bit to do with it, because now we can look at a wetlands map and determine where the wetlands is. It just concerns. Wait a minute. Natural features, streams, ponds, wetlands, etc. Now, knowing where this is and how far from the lodge and how far from the property line, yes, it doesn't say that here. I mean, we have no idea how far it is from here to the end of this gulf. So, in other words, to find out if there's anything in there, you have to look at a map of what's in there and know how far you have to look to find out.
I guess I don't, what does number 13 mean?
Impact, wetland, on water impact.
It just says natural features. It's a yes or no.
No.
What does it say? I mean, just...
That's not the intent of 13. To list the natural features, you mean?
Yeah, there is a verb that's a yes.
Yeah.
Does the application show the natural features, which are these streams, ponds, wetlands? Of the area of interest, right? We don't care about the top of the mountain, right? He's not doing anything up there.
Yeah. Well, the only way we can determine it, does the area in question, is to know just how far the area goes, to see if a map shows.
I agree, we need to know which area to look at.
Well, that's what I just figured out.
Yes.
How far that was, to know what area you're looking at. I mean, you can ask all day long about what we're looking at. But if you don't know where you're looking or what the measurements to that point are, you're not determining anything. Okay. 400 feet. Now we can go back and look at these maps. And questions were raised, we're going to answer them before we go tonight. Is there a wetlands map out here for this property? Do you know?
You know, in the Fraggle Rock one, when you opened it up, it opened up and there was like color markings on it. I can remember, you know, maybe the photocopy is not colored, yours and mine at home. I can remember pitching, seeing it.
If you can help find, you know.
You get the Fraggle Rock book?
This is all Fraggle Rock right here.
Find it. I just see that.
Take a look at it, see what you can dig out of there. We just determined the area in question extends 400 feet from the lodges. So now we know where on the map we have to look instead of just gazing at it and guessing.
Rob, quick question, Mr. President. Don't you think that if we do determine that there needs to be some type of footbridge or something of that nature, that's something that we've addressed later on?
Yeah, but my only point is that to
I'm just-
dot our i's and cross our t's, we would decide
Yeah,
whether or not he can, we
Absolutely.
think he should do disc golf or what constraints we put on it, but if we don't have the information.
But that would be something in the further review, not just the acceptance of the application.
Correct.
So could we concede that we have the Fraggle Rock documentation that would...
I've been up there myself.
It looks a lot better in color, but there's, you know, there's Hanson Brook as it goes through the property, there's a lodge, you know, there's the building, and it shows, you know, there's the brook, there's the wetlands, see the wetlands are highlighted by this right here.
So disc golf is gonna be over here.
Well, actually, you know, again, if you can take this and you can put this onto the drawing I give you, 3 is right here, 2 is back here, 4 is here, 5 is right in this dry stretch here, and then we go up to my septic is here, and 7, you know, again, we work, you know, again, you can lay this out, and this is 3 right here, 4 shoots this way, 5 shoots this way, 6 goes up by the septic, and then we go right back into the snow machine trails, you know. Do I have a bridge that crosses that to get to the dry land? Yes, I do. Do I have a bridge that crosses that to get to the dry land? Yes, I do. Am I affecting the wetland? Absolutely not.
So when you say you have the bridge that exists already, or that's part of the plan?
They're there.
So I think as a board, we have a choice of just saying we have enough information.
Again, if you take this wetland thing and can kind of picture it, it will match right up with that map. You can see where the holes are all in this upland.
My biggest concern would be that that map doesn't cover the whole area. And I look at my property, now I don't have a ski slope, but I can't go 200 feet without running into water somewhere on my property, right?
Yeah.
So my only concern would be that somebody who's upset we give them ammunition if we aren't thorough. That's my only concern.
You never, I've dealt with the public for many years, you're never going to make everybody happy. With a lot of this, if we go to the site and we see where the positioning of each individual hole is, we can determine whether or not Mr. Bordeau may have to put up a footbridge. But until we accept the application, we cannot move forward with any further deliberation as far as the acceptance of his proposal to do just golf.
If I can make one comment
Do we have the fraggle rock?
Okay, yeah, hold on.
We have the documentation that shows where the positioning of the streams, ponds, and wetlands are.
This is not where we are. Where we are here is finding out if we have enough information to accept this application as complete. We cannot act on this, and a site visit is irrelevant at this point. Well, that's where we are. Is the application complete?
The discussion of footbridges would be something that we do in the further...
Got nothing to do with now.
Further down
Right.
the line.
Natural features, streams, ponds, wetlands, etc. Rob's point is that shown here? That's the point. That's what I'm trying to determine. When I measured all that business, the 400 feet from the lodge, the only way you can tell that is by doing this little scale thing. That's where we're going.
So how much is shown here, right? There's a legend that comes in here, but how far out does that go? Can you tell from the scale?
Yeah, you can. That's where I was going. That is I don't know, see, I'm imagining that the scale is accurate because usually if you reduce the drawing, the scale reduces as well. Now, here's the lodge. Now, let's get the map. Yeah, let's not get this too confused here. Let me have your map over here for me. Okay. Now.
You gotta make sure you're going the right direction, right?
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure we're in the right direction. Bob, help us orient this, come on.
Okay. Again,
You
here's
start-
3, here's 3. Yeah, all right, okay? So even the map kind of shows this is actually a PSNH right away here. Okay, so you're up in the upland in the parking lot with 2, across the brook, 3, across the driveway, 4, across the brook again, is the brook, see the big hook right here?
Yeah.
Okay, then 5, then you go right back up into the snow machine trails of the mountain. The brook continues on down here.
Okay, this is the lodge.
This is Hanson Brook
So
right here.
which one of these is the lodge here?
This is,
That's the lodge.
Now, hold on, let me get, okay, I got a mark there, okay. So coming down this way from the lodge, it's 200, we have approximately 300 feet shown from the lodge on this map. There's 300 feet from here to this point here. Now from here to here, oh, look at that. Oh, nice.
Hey, town doesn't want a ruler. Hey.
For a low budget operation.
Let's see. And that's 1 inch, so inch is 100 feet here. So, yeah, it's actually closer to 380 feet down to this corner, which is here. Now that is, where's the scale on that thing? It's got to be there. There it is.
1 inch equals 80.
1 inch equals 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So that's 400 feet. And this one is 1 inch is 100. Very close to 400 feet. If you look, inches 100, 1, 2, 3, 4.5. That's 450 feet roughly. Scale to this scale here. And I measured it. It's actually an inch and it is 100. I mean, it coincides with the inch. This hasn't been reduced or shrunk. So it's about 450 feet maybe. Then this scale, 1 inch is 80 feet. So if you come off the lodge and come this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 320. There's 400 feet. 320 plus 80 is it? 320. There's 400 feet right there. So that's pretty close. You see what I'm saying?
Right, so it almost gets this hole, these holes are here, they're in the legend and...
Yeah, oh yeah, some of them go up this way. Not too far up though, I can measure it. Up there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's up here.
You know,
5, 8,
I think if I was
400 feet.
going to develop it, I think it should carry a little more weight than a disc golf, which is a glorified hiking path. I mean, you can walk.
Yeah.
You can walk to wetlands, and you can even walk.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
Bear with me for a minute.
You know,
Bear with me.
I understand the point, but
Bear with me, Bob.
It is a hiking path.
I understand this, but bear with me. I'm measuring a few things here.
Hunters are out there every day.
I do this all day long, and so I'm having fun. Don't make me not have fun.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 inches times 80. 5 eighths are 400 feet. So we're measuring from this point to the lodge is approximately 400 feet, give or take 15 or 20 feet. We're not going to quibble at that. Now, if I come off here, 1 inch scale in feet. 1 inch is 100. Yeah. No, it isn't. 1 inch is, this is 200 feet. 3. It's not 1 inch is 100. Okay, this is 200 feet. So this map shows.
No, 1 inch is 100 feet.
0 to
100, yeah.
to the...
Yep, 1 inch is 100 feet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 400 feet to the edge of this, which is showing the depictions of the wetlands and brooks. So basically, what I'm saying is this actually does pretty much show everything that's on here. I mean, it scales out at 400 feet and approximately 400 feet. This is 500 feet. This scales out at around close to 500 feet. So this actually does, mostly, for the most part, within a couple of feet, this wetlands picture.
Cool. They're out to get right there.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
No. So, have figured out exactly where everything's positioned on there?
Gary's the only person I've ever seen pocket
Yeah.
answer. Anyway, people pocket dial before. You can actually pocket answer.
The reason I went through this exercise when I looked at these, it looked close enough to me to say that this actually scales out to close enough to this. So the issue here is, the actual issue here is, does it show natural features, streams, ponds, and wetlands on this map he has just submitted? Now this map does not, but this map does. And it's pretty much the same area. So what he's actually submitted does describe.
So, did you find where everything is with the maps that we have right there?
Yeah, pretty much.
So
It shows the
then
wetlands.
Can we decide that we have enough to figure out where everything is?
Well, it's the wetlands map, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But that was the whole issue. That's why we went through the
That's all I want to
exercise.
know, if we had enough information to fulfill.
But we didn't know that until I went through this exercise. We had no idea.
Okay.
That was why I went through the exercise.
So Harry, this says 80 feet to an inch, this is 100 feet to an inch. And just laying these over,
Yeah.
I see a bunch of this stuff falls either in the legend or off the page.
Yeah, we are a
And this
little
stuff is
bit off.
actually, should be further
Yeah.
out.
Can
So
we-
my concern would be like 14, 15, 16, 17 is sort of the area that's here on this map.
Agreed, but the wetlands are down here.
Can we agree that there's enough information?
How do you know there's not wetlands up there too?
Because that's the slope, where the tubing slope. I mean, I've been up there. I know it's not designated wetlands. Just, I mean, do we want a surveyor to prove that to us?
I don't know. All I know is I've got slope on my property and there's dips in it with streams in it. Just because it's a slope doesn't tell me that it's not a wetland. But that doesn't mean that I don't know how to resolve this, but
I don't think there's too much to resolve, personally.
is there any water up there on those holes? Is there anything that if somebody went and looked at it, they'd say, oh, this is a wetland?
You know, I mean, this time of year, you know, you get the snow just left up there 3-4 days ago, so there's still some stuff moving. If you're up there in August, no. You know, I mean, you know, hole 18, again, I tried to, and I think I said in my cover letter, I put 14 of the 18 holes in the existing things. We only cut 4 holes. I mean, 18 is down my tubing run. 14, 15, 16 are all
George,
the
your
old
computer on the
ski
internet?
area hills. I mean, we went out of
Yes.
our way to.
You know how to get the
do that for
USGS
a reason.
wetlands maps?
No, but I can do a search.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we need the USGA wetlands maps to make the determination, we should ask the applicant to submit that stuff.
I'm not saying we need it. I don't think that we do. I've been up there and it doesn't, I'm convinced there's not wetlands on the upper high side of this. I mean, seasonal flow is not considered wetlands.
Agreed.
So, I don't believe there's wetlands up there. So now the issue to the board is, do we want to have that proof in blood?
So related to this, there's a couple other items on the checklist that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
There's, number 15 asks for contours.
We're not even there, let's work on 13.
No, I'm just saying, there's, contours are going to be covered as well. And number 21 asks for soil survey and wetlands data, which we're sort of discussing
We're
already.
talking 13.
Hey, I'm sorry, Jim, I have the floor.
I'm sorry.
I have the floor.
Now, everybody calm down.
21 talks about soil survey and wetlands data. You said there's some things that are area specific. That we're talking about wetlands right now. There's other stuff like soil survey and whatever else that we may end up wanting to ask for anyway further down the line. Is there a general, you know, I mean, do we think that all those things are going to be included here, or do we think that maybe there's some? Do we need to ask more information?
Let's not go to those other things right now. Let's stay on 13. The other things we'll discuss when we get there. Let's get to 13 right now, because that's where we are really. That's what Jim was alluding to, and I think I agree with him on that level. We are going to have to discuss these other things, although the contours aren't a problem. You can make an assumption with contours. Wetlands, you can't really make an assumption. But I have been up there, and I for one know there are no designated wetlands on this hillside. In terms of whether or not there's seasonal flow, there probably is, because every grade has seasonal flow. Every hillside has seasonal flow with snow melting and runoff. So the issue is here. On this portion of the piece, does the board want to see whether there's wetlands there or not?
Mr. Chairman, you had asked George if he could just pull up that map.
I asked him if he, but Rob made a point. If we ask for it, it's up for Bob to give us that information. We're not set up to do the research for him. I mean, that's asking George to go do something he's out of his element with. That could take him a half an hour. I'm going to sit here and wait for that. My question to the board here is, do we, for this piece of 12 and 13, which is slightly outside, perhaps by 100 feet, of the wetlands picture that we have here, that shows that there is no, well, here, I'll just show it to you. Here's the wetlands, these little funny marks here. Here's the portion up here. These marks don't seem to be over here. They seem to stop here. This is the high side. There are no marks over here. Do we want to require, we see this thing from Fraggle Rock where the title block is, which is where these last two pieces fit.
I got two questions.
Yeah.
What's the title on the page from Fraggle Rock? What does that say? What is he describing? All the wetlands, what does that say?
It's the overview plan for construction of a retention pond. And in order to...
Okay, so it's not the entire property. It was designed for the retention pond.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the retention pond was for various reasons.
I understand, but it's not supposed to show the entire property. It's supposed to address the retention pond only.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But it does address the entire property, in the sense that the runoff from the entire property is affected.
Well, it doesn't, because the part that's under your thumb isn't addressed. Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
And somewhere in this package, is jumping ahead, are we going to see the contours of this area?
You're going to see the contours of the area up to this little spot right here. There's going to be a little bit outside there. And the contours are going to squiggle over in 5-foot or 2-foot increments, because I don't know what scale they used here. There's several of them.
But they'll show the gradient.
Yes, up to this little, except for this little spot under the title block. And now our question is going to be, do we need to see the contours, which are going to squiggle a little further? Look at it. Do you know what, I don't know, maybe you know all this stuff. I don't have any idea your background. But we're not at contours right now. We're on, let's do the wetlands. This item number
Mr. Chairman.
13.
But see, the contours can indicate...
Yes. Pardon me?
The contours can indicate there's no wetland because it's very steep.
Well, it is very steep.
Then the contours will show that, and it's easier for me to vote.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that number 13 is not complete. Or not, I'm sorry, not submitted.
Do I hear a second?
Second for discussion.
Huh?
Second for discussion.
So the motion is seconded.
To recap,
Yeah.
the issue is that this block is in the way. Am I correct?
No, the issue is that right over here, this little portion of it is in the way, yeah, right here. Yeah. In other words, Fraggle Rock didn't show that portion. For whatever their reason is, when they did their computations, they take total land mass, but they don't necessarily have to show the entire land mass of their complicated. They just give you a number of acres and 1,000 square feet. You say the runoff from X is X. They may not have drawn a picture of it, but they know how many thousand square feet are in the number of acres there when they do their computation. So they didn't show that picture. Now I understand where Rich is going. He wants to look at the contour map. And if he sees the contour map, and the contour map suggests that those are steep sides, we have a contour map here. I just want to find it.
Mr. Chair, can I just make one comment?
Yeah, sure.
When all the people were up there, Fraggle Rock, they did the soil analysis, the wetland analysis based on the developed area. The soil sample that was submitted was done on the developed area. The contours, we had the contours in there, but they were for the developed area. There was no way the Fraggle Rock was gonna go out and wetland 670 acres. They weren't gonna contour 670 acres. Everything was done for the developed area, which makes sense because you're developing that area. The disc golf is nothing short of a glorified hiking. People are up there every day of the week. On the weekend, the traffic is in there. They hike that mountain like crazy. The contours and all this stuff, really, if you just focus on the task at hand, that it's a disc golf. We're not developing, we're not putting no buildings, we're not doing no roads. It's a walking path. If it's too steep, they're going to walk it once and not come back. If it's too wet, they're going to walk it once and not come back. I mean, you know, it's...
You're right. I lost sight of what we're doing. We're checking to see if this follows our process, our documented
and that's
process.
for a complete site plan. If I was going to build buildings and roads and stuff, and we've lost kind of grasp of that.
So my goal tonight is to make sure that we are following the process that we've documented. That's all it has to be.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah.
And the board won't be arguing with either. I understand what you're doing here. And I'm trying to get to a point where we either accept this as complete or not. We have a motion on the floor that number 13 is incomplete.
That's right.
And we have a second, for the sake of discussion, by Ed. So there we are, and we're having a discussion now. Now,
So part of my concern, I am keeping in mind that we're talking about disc golf. And for a number of years I was an avid disc golfer. I get it. I understand the impact it has. The issue is that down the road, at some point, you or some successor is going to apply for some other use, and some future planning board is going to be a situation where they're like, oh, this is in the area the disc golf is. Okay, so we must have complete information on that. In this case, we don't, right? I think at least as far as I've seen, we don't have complete information on the area covered by disc golf. And I understand that you're not proposing to build roads or buildings or anything like that today. I'm just concerned that if we don't have the complete information, that first of all, someone's going to come and say we didn't follow our process, that we didn't have enough information to know that there's no impact or anything to be concerned about. And second of all, that down the road, there's going to be this idea, look at how we're going back to the 2010 application. We're like, oh, we're just looking at the checklist. Oh yeah, that was marked as complete or waived or whatever. And somebody's going to look at this application for disc golf and say, oh, look, they said that it was, that was submitted for disc golf, so it must have been submitted, right? Without going and looking at the backup information and understanding that what exactly we decided that it was submitted enough, right? It covered all but 200 feet of, of the course or whatever.
here's the topo.
That's my concern.
Anybody want to see the topo?
Not anymore, no.
I'm not as concerned as you, Rob. I know the property up there, I've been there, and I think we have enough information. The guy's gonna hike 100 feet off the map of wetlands. People are gonna walk 100 feet from where this map stops. And it isn't from there, from the edge of that map to the end isn't Niagara Falls, and I don't think there's grounds for any suit against the town because we didn't have the 100 feet. That's my opinion. I think we're splitting hairs, and I'm not gonna vote that way. It's that simple, because I don't see, that's my opinion. If the information were inadequate, I would stop and say, well, this isn't inadequate. But I don't feel, based on the contours up there, that's my opinion, that we need to have this guy go out and bring us a contour map at our next meeting, saying, here's the extra 100 feet, because that's about what we're talking about. The path is going to wander 100 feet off of this map on the slope of a hill where I'm already convinced there's no designated wetlands. Unfortunately, I don't have a wetlands map here, but we have close to one from Fraggle Rock, and they don't show any wetlands up here where I see this.
Mr. Chairman, it seems to me because of all the discussion.
Pardon me?
It seems to me because of all the discussion, it's not submitted. Because if it was submitted, we would have said yes a long time ago. I think we're trying to force a yes.
I believe he's submitted adequate information. I mean, that last 100 feet, he needs to show whether there's any ponds or things there.
It says yes or no.
Rich, I could argue.
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
I could argue that somebody's trying to force a no.
We're discussing.
Yeah, we're discussing it. I don't believe that, that's what I'm telling you. I'm not forcing anybody to do anything, I'm forcing me to do what I believe.
Oh, no, what my point is, if it was there, it would be an obvious yes. If it's not there, you draw your own conclusions.
So I think if the motion that's on the table
Yep,
fails, then the next then we're going to have another motion, which would either be that it has been submitted or that we should waive it. I don't think it's been submitted. But if we decide it hasn't been submitted, maybe we'll have a motion that follows up with it, it's been waived, that we should waive it, right? I don't think that this motion is about yes or no. I mean, I don't think it's been submitted, but I think that there's an argument that the reason I made the motion that it's not submitted rather than the motion that it's to waive it is that there are people here making the argument that it has been submitted. I don't think that's true. I think that if the motion succeeds, the next motion will be, I would assume, to waive it. Because
we could possibly.
Because we've got almost enough information. We've been up there, we know that it's steep, and it's unlikely to have wetlands, right? I'm not trying to kill this application. I don't have an agenda, other than us not getting into trouble, right? And not creating a lawsuit for the poor guy. I mean, we'll have to defend it, but he's going to get delayed by it, right? I mean, this motion is not about killing the application. It's just trying to make a decision on 13. Now, we may decide that it hasn't been submitted and we don't want to waive it, in which case he's got to come back with more information. But the question, the motion
it's a good point.
that it hasn't been submitted. I don't think, my opinion, looking at the maps, he hasn't submitted natural features, item number 13, for the whole golf area. That's the extent of what my motion's about. Doesn't mean we may decide we don't need it, right? In which case we'll go ahead and waive it.
There's 100 feet. There's about 100, it's not quite 100 feet in question there, but it might be around 80 feet. That this last little business here and here.
So you agree he hasn't submitted it?
Well, it doesn't show. I can't argue with that. It does not show it on this map. Unfortunately. And it's about 80 feet. So, there's a motion on the floor, and the second was by Ed. Do we have any more discussion?
Read the motion.
That's it? Okay, I want to make sure everybody got it off their chest. Pardon me?
Read the motion.
Request that we
Read the motion again, please.
Yes, Rob Collins made a motion that number 13 is not submitted. It was seconded by Ed Comeau.
It's not complete?
Not submitted. The
Not
information
submitted.
yes, the information concerning item number 13 is not submitted.
Would you reword that?
No.
Complete?
No.
Okay.
The column is submitted. I don't think we should write a check mark on the submit column. I'm not saying we shouldn't put one in the waive column.
Okay, it's not submitted, and we have a second. Now we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay. I'd like to move, based on the situation up there and what this man's actually doing up there with the disc golf in relation to the portion of this map that does not show where there are any water, where there is any wetlands or not, that we waive the requirement for Mr. Bordeau to show that last 80 feet on those slopes as to whether or not there are any ponds or natural features, streams, ponds, wetlands, etc. That's what it's all wet natural features, and I'm talking about other natural features. So let me rephrase that, George, make it easier. I move that we waive 13 for a small portion of the disc golf that is not shown on the maps previously submitted.
Second.
Now let's discuss it.
You've been there, you're okay with it?
Yeah, I've been all over, I've ski tubed up there.
Yeah,
But-
I brought the grandkids up there, I know that, I know where it is.
But you believe it's okay?
Well, the board as a whole also did a walkthrough around the.
Well, we've all been up there, the whole board has been up there.
And as part of the process, if we want to, we can do, I assume Mr. Bordeaux would be happy enough to host us for a site visit.
I'll give you a few discs and I'll get 9 baskets up, we can shoot a little.
Yep.
So, I mean, as far as discussion, I was, although I made the previous motion, I actually support this motion as well. So, I mean, I think that we can, with the data we've got, it covers most of the area, and we can fill in the rest with a site visit if we're concerned. Because it is a relatively small area, and I think the chances that there's anything of significance there is low. I'm okay with this.
And he's not doing too much except making a path. That has something else to do. The impact is minimal. That also has something to do with it. If he were doing something that had a high impact there, then I think it would be, we would act a little more strenuously to be 100% sure.
Yes, and I'm happy that the record will show this is waived, and so it's in the future, if he comes through with a higher impact proposal, somebody looks at this application and say, oh yeah, that was waived, but maybe we shouldn't waive because this is now higher impact. So, as opposed to being marked as submitted. So, anyway, I personally think we're okay waiving this one.
Anyone else? Hearing no more discussion, all in favor of waiving number 13? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we are going to check number 13 in the waiver box.
You got it right here.
Yep. I gotta steal your pen. Mine's buried here some godly.
How did you lose your pen?
Oh, there it is. All right. There it is. Okay, we're not going any further until I put this back together again, okay? Because we can't afford to have last year's thing and this year's thing all mixed up together. Or whatever, it's not even last year. It won't take many years ago.
Don't lose the ruler.
No, I won't need it again, perhaps, but we'll wait and see.
We'll save it for a while.
We may. All right, okay, this is part of the original, George. Let's keep them all together right there so we don't get this screwed up. All right.
So on the previous, that's part of the original as well.
Oh, where is that? Now we gotta go back there.
Yeah, we had the previous.
Yes, it's now.
You have a stack of papers there as well, is that?
No, this is the stuff we've already, oh, yeah, this is,
Yes.
yeah, heavens, let's do it, huh?
I don't see the checklist here, I mean, it could be here, but.
NFB, here,
You got the checklist?
yeah, this is it right here. Okay. And this is the original 1, 2, 3, okay, good. Yeah, right like that, okay. Size, location of all existing roads, water wells, culverts. Wait a minute, that's not where we are.
We're on
14, waste dumpster locations and snow storage areas. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find that item number 14 was submitted as part of the 2010 application.
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. 15, existing and proposed grades and contours, including base flood elevation where appropriate. Okay, let's go to the contour map. Actually, I think we got that, if you can read it, because it's a little bit small. USGS stuff.
Grab this
right
out of the
here.
way.
It's a little bit tight in the eyes.
Well, there was a large one that was submitted as well.
Well, here it is, right here. I think you're talking about this. Right here. This one and this one, you mean?
There was a large one that had contours that we ran into last week. It's part of the fiber optic.
Yeah, that's the water thing we just looked at, isn't it?
I'm not sure where the rest of the fiber optic went to, but.
Actually, it didn't snow too, but I took the grandkids something. Last time I snowed too, I blew the tube up.
Okay, here's some contours.
Okay.
You want to slippery object coming down a high slope, that's a scary thought.
Yeah,
All right.
standing at the bottom.
What's the scale?
1 inch equals 80 feet.
Okay, that's pretty close to the last one. Now, that's not shown over here. But you can bet the contours follow these pretty much, you know, like this. I mean, they don't go off that way and leave a big void there. Unless there's a plateau up there. Is there
Yes,
a plateau?
so Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't feel comfortable going to court on a bet.
No. Well, yeah, but contours, you see the way this natural terrain goes through here? We can compare it to this business right here.
And then it changes.
This came off this USGS map. Actually, this came off a software program, but it's not the point. We can relate this to this and actually see the contours if we want. But they're small, but we can look and see where they go. Because it is here. What we have to do is figure out where. It's right here. There's the pond. It's up here. The pond is over here, right?
And the pond is here.
There's the pond, there it is right there, okay. That's the pond. Proposed pond. This has no scale. But if Kingswood Lake is over here, these are the contours here, just this spot right here, which is what this is taken from this map. Let me see, there's a little bit bigger blow up here. In other words, there's the pond that's right there, that circle. And if you look where Kingswood Lake is way over this, all the contours are shown there.
It would be supposed to be this way as it says.
Correct.
No, Wakefield's there.
No, I'm just saying is that where we're looking at this from Moose Mountain
Yeah.
Road and projection, this is the way that it would be
Yeah.
situated.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You can see the contours.
It shows the contours, it shows the gradients in those areas. We want to enlarge it if we want to get a little more specific on particular areas, but that shows.
Well, here, this whole thing is just inside this little spot right here. I'm gonna look at this other map here. There's another one here. Actually, we do have the contour map, if you want to use USGS.
Yes, we do.
Now it's a matter of whether we consider this adequate.
We can argue with USGS.
I don't
if we
consider
like.
that adequate. You can't, it's not enough resolution to look at the area.
Yeah, it's a problem. It is a problem. You can't really see it. I'm looking for the other piece right here.
So I don't think that he submitted acceptable contours for the area. But the reason we ask, my understanding is the reason we ask for contours is to understand what grading somebody's proposing to do.
Yeah.
So I think that the contours are relevant in general, but not necessarily for this application, given that he's not doing any grading.
Well, your motion should be that it's not acceptable,
I need to make a motion.
right? If you're gonna make one.
I'll make a motion that we waive number 15 as non-applicable to the application.
That motion could be made.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay.
So that one's waived.
Yeah. I'm making sure I get the right spot.
Yep.
Non-applicable.
Well, you're right, now I am moving with it. Size and location of all existing and proposed water wells, culverts, and distance to cisterns and fire ponds.
the original application that was marked as.
Yeah, we did accept that in the original, and that's still shown.
Move that we accept that as given to the board in the last application.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Okay. Copy of certification from septic designer DS is sufficiency of system.
We marked that as NA on the last application.
Yeah, because it wasn't a... Why did we mark that as NA? Does anybody remember that, Bob?
I don't, I mean, we had it, so I don't know why.
Didn't you just put one in?
We just had a new one put in, yeah.
That's why it was not applicable, the state approved it, we couldn't supersede the state. Okay.
So I move that number 17, we find that it's not applicable.
A second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Not applicable. Location, type of proposed wastewater disposal system, outline of 4,000 square feet area, test pits, record of percolation test, that should be an NA too.
There was an NA on the last application as well.
We have a motion.
I would move that we consider number 18 as non-applicable to the application.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? God, it gets tired this morning. Abstention, NA. Existing and proposed stormwater drainage system.
That was NA on the last one.
Yeah, because we didn't have that, that wasn't necessary.
Move that we consider it non-applicable to this application.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? That one is not applicable as well.
I'd just like to ask, who was the second on that?
Pardon me?
Jerry.
I second that.
Thank you.
Okay, location of existing and proposed on-site wells showing required radius on property. We have that.
Oh, yes, that was marked as submitted the last time.
That was submitted the last time. I remember that well.
I move that we find that item number 20 was submitted as part of the 2009 application.
Second.
Discussion, anybody want to see it? It's there. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yes.
Soil survey and wetlands data.
We waived that last time.
Yeah, because Fraggle Rock did it.
I think we had wetlands data, I don't know, but maybe not soil surveyors.
No, we didn't need a soil survey.
I'm pretty sure that I submitted one from the county, Wendy Scribner did one for me for that piece. I could have sworn I submitted it. I don't know why we waived it back then, I don't really remember, but I could have sworn I submitted it, but.
We may not have seen it, and we waived it, and you were just kept quiet to keep things going.
I can remember the lines, it wasn't many different soils, but I can remember them doing it and identifying it, but.
Well, I remember you bringing in extra information because of the hoopla.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're not excavating.
Make sure to cover your bases.
You're not excavating or doing any of that.
No.
I don't see where a soil survey is, makes any sense.
Yeah, I would,
So again, it's a soil survey and wetlands data.
Yeah. Well, we have a certain amount of wetlands data showing where the wetlands is. I don't think we need to have a picture of that small portion outside that wetlands map.
any effect on any wetlands would be minimal at best.
Well,
There would be no more than just walking,
there's no law against walking in wetlands. You can't develop wetlands.
However, the land use isn't walking, the land use is disc golf. I understand that they're almost indistinguishable, but we're talking about putting a whole lot of people in one spot. However, having
You
said
can
that,
do that.
having said that, I would move that we find that we waive item 21.
I would say.
I think it could be applicable, but I think that for disc golf, appropriate not to have it.
Second.
You second it. Okay, any discussion further on this? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? And that is a waiver, right?
That was my motion, I believe, to waive.
Location of any existing or proposed easements, deed restrictions, and covenants. That was submitted,
It was
right?
previously submitted.
Actually, it's marked as NA.
It was previously submitted though with the application. But for some reason, we put it down as non-applicable, but it was submitted. It's some of the extra things that Bob put together just to make sure.
Yeah, there were some easements for the
There was
power
a-
company.
Yeah,
and all
power
that.
company easements, yes.
Well, I think we did that, and if I remember correctly, we did that because it really wasn't applicable
I don't know. if
to
we
what he was
retained-
doing up there. The easements were in existence, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if the town retained those, but I know we submitted it whether they were in application.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, I just breezed through it a few minutes ago. I saw somewhere about the,
Because we did
Power
talk
company.
specifically about the power company's easement.
what do we do? Make that a waiver or non-applicable?
Last time it was NA.
Yeah, I would say in this case, I would move that the board consider this non-applicable to this
To
application.
disc golf, I think so. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? NA. Certification and required signatures as per planning board comprehensive application form packet. Let me let that one sink in for a minute. Required signatures as per.
So that's the abutter, that's Jessica's signature for abutters. That's Mr. Bordeaux's signature as the applicant. I move that item 23 has been submitted.
A second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We know that's been done. Here we are. Any federal or state or local permits?
It was NA last time.
Yeah. I move that we NA that again. It's not applicable. There's no federal, state, or local permits. He's not building. He needs no building permit or anything like that. So,
Second.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? NA. Building elevations and design.
Definitely NA.
I move that that is not applicable. There's no need for building elevations and design.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? That is not applicable. Sign location and design. Are you going to put up a sign for disc golf? You're not.
By the time they get there,
They already know.
they already know it's too late.
Yeah. You mean you're not going to get the passers-by?
No.
All right, no sign. Then that's an NA as well.
So-
Well, any
So that was-
existing signs would have to be considered and.
Well, he has signed that. We've already.
Yeah,
approved.
exactly.
that was marked
But
as
it's already
submitted
been
last time.
previously submitted.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 3 under other as submitted.
Second.
As part of the 2010 application.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Yep, yes.
Copies of any proposed or existing easement, deed restrictions, covenants, and street deeds. I think we NA'd that last time. if I remember.
Pretty much the same.
We didn't ask for copies of the power company deed or any of that, or easement, rather.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 4 under other as not applicable.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Such studies may be required and/or requested by the planning board.
It was
Mr. Chairman,
this left blank last time.
Yeah, we left it blank. Well, that's because we're not going to make it non-applicable, we're not going to require anything.
Yeah,
We can might as well make that non-applicable too.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 5 under other, not applicable to this application.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
somehow I missed 1 and 2 under other. Was that on?
They were both NA,
Non-applicable.
non-applicable.
Okay, did we have a motion on that?
There were motions on
Yeah, there were
those.
motions on that, I'm sorry. Who
Rob,
made the motion? Rob?
Rob motioned, I think, on both of those to make them non-applicable. Ed seconded on number 2, I believe I seconded on number 1.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, George, it's getting late.
So, number 1 under other, I believe what Jim's recalling
Yeah.
correctly, I made the motion
I
for
seconded.
NA, and Jim seconded.
And on number 2, you made the motion, Ed seconded.
Both passed.
You did.
Thank you.
Did you abstain on one of
Do
those?
you need a break?
Oh, no, that's right, you voted on
Sorry.
both. The third one.
I suggest a 5-minute recess to give George's hand a break.
How your hand doing?
Fine,
I actually need a little bit, just a couple
Huh?
minutes, just a little couple minutes break if you don't mind.
Take a couple of minutes, George, no problem. Here 10 more minutes without voting.
Actually, that's not true. We just can't take up new business.
No, you can't do that. We can continue it at
Stay to
board's
midnight.
discretion.
Well, I want to stay to midnight. I've got nothing else to do now.
But you're having so much.
Okay, here we are, number 6, we're reconvened. 4, full-size copies of all plans and 10 copies of development plan in 11 by 17 format. Well, do we want to call this a development plan? Are we going to call it that?
That's the way.
I don't think it's a development plan, I think it's a path through the woods plan. I don't know that that's development, but maybe it is. Depends on the opinion of the board.
There's no development, it's just placement of the holes, and that's laid out well enough.
Well, I suppose if you look up the word developed, it might mean that it is a development plan.
Well, I think that we have not received 4 full-size copies of anything. I'm okay with that, though, I think, given what this is. So I think that this hasn't been submitted, but I think it's reasonable to waive it in this situation.
I think that may be so. Are you making that motion?
I will move that we find, that we waive item 6 under other.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, number 7, 3 copies of all studies.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find the item number 7 under other as not applicable.
I'll second.
Pardon me. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pardon me, opposed? Abstentions? That is not applicable. Digital copy of plans.
Last time we had marked that as NA. You didn't submit digital copies last time, I believe?
No.
I don't see a CD in the packet.
I don't believe so.
It seems absolutely vital that we have digital copies of the course layout. Mr. Chairman, I move that we...
So we can cheat.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 8 under other not applicable for this application.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Fees. I don't think we have to do anything here except check it off ourselves.
This is pre-application items 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
This is not a pre-application design review.
Pardon me?
This is not a pre-application design review. This is a site plan review. So these 3 are not applicable.
Right.
And then with these things,
But we don't have to move that they're not applicable. You just write that in there.
I think think that's correct.
Cross them off.
Based on which kind of application this is.
Yes. These here, it's all here. All the fee items. Anybody would like to see that before they, I think we can move on all.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we find items 1, 2, 3, and 4 under fees, site plan review,
Yes.
as submitted.
Second.
Okay. Anybody want to see that? I've seen it. He has the fees in the form of a check submitted to the board and the appropriate paperwork.
We showed them the board right there.
Yep. So these are all submitted.
Aye.
Well, he hasn't asked yet.
Oh.
Wait a second, will ya?
Oh, that's right. I beg your pardon. I'm getting on.
John's on the motion, give us just one.
Oh,
Don't tell us how to vote.
This is all great on the Ed show, you know? Everybody sees how dopey you get at 9 o'clock after the... All right.
This is entertainment for Poland.
Yeah.
We're still popular in Poland.
All in favor of accepting
Not
this
really.
as admitted?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Etc. Number 5, engineering and legal fees.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we find item number 5 under fees, site plan review, as not applicable for this application.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Not applicable. Okay. That is the end.
Do you want to tell them or shall we?
No, we have to make a motion. We can't do anything until we know that this is complete.
So just going back to the original
Yeah, we gotta go
list.
back there.
So pages 1 through 8, I think we've dealt with each of those. 11 and 12, we just dealt with those. The 4 plats, I think we already dealt with that on the checklist.
Yeah.
The 11 by 17 copy of the plat, I think we
We
dealt
have
with on the
that.
checklist, and we do have that. Application fees, we dealt with. The Mylar, we don't have. And the mailing labels, I think we've dealt with on the checklist. So, do you want a motion on the Mylars weren't on the checklist, is that right?
The Mylar is not on the checklist. I don't see it nowhere. Yeah. No. No Mylar.
So, I guess we're waiving them, well, I guess we'd be waiving them, Mylar, not applicable.
It's not on the checklist either, though.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the Mylar for this application.
Second, discussion. I agree with that simply because a Mylar of a path through the woods is a little bit ridiculous. That being said, any other discussion? All in favor of waiving Mylar?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? We're waiving the Mylar. 3-7.
So I think we're back to Jim's original motion, if you want to make it again.
I would happily move to accept this minor site plan review application.
As complete.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to amend that we accept it as complete, given that we followed our process, whatever the document is, Rob.
This
Site
is-
plan review checklist?
No,
The rules of procedure?
that we followed the steps and the rules of procedure of the board, and accept the document.
Well, I don't think we need to make any amendment. I think we just accept it as we have done it. We've been here for 3 hours, showing everybody we've taken full.
I think you want the meeting minutes to show that legally we followed the process that we documented. that we will
Okay,
follow.
wait. There's no, you can't amend Jim's amendment.
Okay.
That's the way, it doesn't work that way. The way it works is Jim makes the amendment, somebody seconded it. Now, if you would like to amend that, we vote on it, and then we can go and amend the amendment after that. Or you could ask Jim to withdraw it and change it, and he might do that.
So,
I'm good.
I'm sorry, there was a motion, was it seconded?
I second.
Ed seconded it.
So why can't Rich propose an amendment to the motion?
He can't oppose an amendment, he can't amend.
He can ask.
Propose an amendment.
You can ask.
Normally, there's a process by which you can formally propose a amendment to a motion, and it has to be seconded and voted
It would
on.
have to be withdrawn or altered by the person who made the original motion.
That's not
Or,
normal
the
procedure.
motion.
No,
I'm thinking.
Robert's rules.
Robert's rules of order. Give me a minute.
Can we have some discussion?
Didn't we
Discuss
call
it.
that out a while ago?
Let's
It's
discuss
okay.
it.
So,
The issue is, my point is, I believe you want in our meeting minutes that we followed the process that we set before ourselves to accept a document. Because the only legal document that stands up in court is our meeting minutes. So I think you want a document that we followed our process.
I will amend my motion to state that I move to accept the minor site plan review application in my full belief that the board has done due diligence in following our requirements.
Rules of procedure or requirements?
I follow our requirements under our ordinance.
Rules of procedure.
Rules of procedure.
Okay. Read it back, George. Then we'll second it if we're going to second it. Sorry about your hand, buddy. It's got to be writer's cramp at this point.
Jim
Well, final manicure.
Jim Freeman made a motion to accept the minor site plan review application as complete in that the planning board has done its due diligence in following the rules of procedure. Seconded, oh, we don't have a second on this.
I'll second
And seconded by Ed Comeau.
Any discussion?
We follow the rules of procedure up. Is that what you want the the document?
I've been.
Those are the rules of procedure.
Well, this is Appendix B of the Rules of Procedure.
Okay.
And Appendix B is essentially our application form.
Yeah.
So to the best of my ability, as a totally anal person, I think.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I think we
I don't want to.
I mean, somebody could argue that some of our judgments were incorrect, but I think that
We followed the process.
I think we've looked at everything we need to look at. I think we've discussed and had explicit votes on every decision we've had to make.
Oh, this most definitely has been dissected.
I feel very comfortable with the process.
It's just got to be documented in the meeting minutes that we followed the process, because that's the legal document.
Oh, it's documented on.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't, it's got
So,
to be.
so Rich,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
so legally, we have to have already a motion in the minutes and the decision that was made based on the motion. And that's why we followed, came from the last time we went through this where
Yes.
everyone was watching, right? And we want to make sure that the court would know what decisions we made and what we did. That's why we made 50 motions or whatever it was.
You are not obligated to do this the way we did it. You do not have to move every single one of these items. Laura made that clear. But
Hence my original
her
motion.
suggestion was, because we were sitting in a room with 3 different attorneys, that we take it item by item and do it that way. And then there would be no question by the general public as to whether or not we fabricated or did anything weird here. So this wasn't any legal requirement for us to do this by Robert's Rules of Order statute. We just did it that way last time, so I said, sure enough, why not do it this way? This stuff works. It worked. Anybody has any questions in town as to whether or not we did our job? Well, it worked last time, and a lawsuit was dropped after we did that, immediately after we did it. So consequently, I don't expect one to show up here, but one never knows. Anyway.
Find the put appointment for Ed's website.
So this application is complete. Now, we have to schedule a public hearing. Let's get to that and we're done. We have to call, the vote. Yes, we didn't call the vote. We didn't vote.
Yeah,
We're still discussing, right?
Yeah, we're discussing.
I think your question is valid. Do we feel comfortable that we followed the procedure? I think my answer to that would be yes.
Big as anal as you are.
You know, Tom, well, don't figure it out. Somebody has.
Come on, say it again, say it again.
Okay. Are we discussing anymore? No. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So be it. Thanks, George. Keep me on my toes. You sleep here in the day or what? I didn't come here with a mental acuity. I'm all done. Anyway. Okay, let's get to the scheduling of public hearing. I want to get this done ASAP. Just we get it out of our hair and let Mr. Bordeau get on with his business on the mountain. We need 12 days, what it amounts to. Today is the 22nd. So we'll be on the 34th, right?
The 34th of this month?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
You have got to wait till the 34th of this month.
Actually, it'll be the 5th, right? The 4th. It'll be the 4th of May.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
We have a flow chart in our rules of procedure.
Where are we flowing?
On Appendix A. And so, we're on page, no, it's not, doesn't have a page number, but we're on the second page of the flow chart.
Yeah.
It's right before Appendix B. Where we just decided it was complete, so we're into step 3, which says, Planning Board begins formal consideration of the application, which could mean moving into public hearing or scheduling the public hearing, which I think is what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking
Step
about.
4 would be, it says, within 65 days. So a clock just started. Within 65 days, the Planning Board must have rendered a decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so just pointing out that we have a clock, and
Yep.
Mr. Bordeaux can hold our feet to the fire on this, but that our next step is to schedule a public hearing.
That's what I said.
That gives you your furthest out date. You could have it sooner, right?
Yes.
You know, it says
You must do it within 65 days, but you can't, no sooner than 12 days.
we must have rendered a decision, not just had a public
Yes,
hearing.
right.
So,
Mr.
So
Chair,
we're allowed to disallow.
considering how it's getting later in the season, we should try to get things buttoned up a little bit sooner from Bordeaux. I mean, follow all procedures naturally.
Well, I just
Make
said
sure
we
that
have to
Bordeaux gets,
notice, George, what's
doesn't
the,
get held up unduly.
I would suggest the earliest would be the 6th, because the 4th is on Saturday, 5th is on Sunday. So
okay, the 6th.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we do it at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be the 13th. And rather than have another special meeting. I don't anticipate that this public hearing is going to be, I don't think it's going to be a long public hearing. If I thought it was going to be long, I'd say, yeah, let's have it on a separate night. I can't imagine, I'd be happy if one person showed up and had an opinion on this. I mean...
Oh, I think more than that'll show up, but I think quite a few people are going to show up, but that's beside the point. We can deliberate and make our decision immediately after the public hearing.
That's correct.
We don't have to wait. When are you opening up there?
As soon as you give me approval.
If you want to do it,
I'm fine, you know, again, I appreciate the extra nights you guys have come in. I'm fine with
it'd be the 13th, I
the
think.
13th.
This will mean we're going to approve it.
Well, I know that. I'm taking a crap shot that, you know, maybe it won't drag on too long, and I can live with the 13th if all goes well. My fingers will be crossed.
We can do that.
And then you can just have the one meeting.
And Mr. Chairman, you just need a quorum that evening? You don't need any specific members? Is that the way that works?
That is true. That is true.
Are you not available?
That's why I'm asking.
No, that's true. We need a quorum, but it preferably really should be a quorum of people that were involved in tonight's process, you know. It's better than having somebody come in cold, not really having been through this. I mean, they still have the right to vote. They can come up to speed on it, but everybody that sat here is fully aware of what we discussed.
It's best to have as many of the board members as possible, but a quorum is also necessary.
Well, let's have a special meeting on the 6th anyway. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it's not unreasonable, because I think that
We got other work to do.
With we'll have the public hearing. It's going to take us some period of time. I mean, it's going to take us half an hour at least, or to an hour to make a decision and figure out what restrictions we're going to, right, we have to decide yes or no, and if it's yes, what restrictions to place on it.
Yeah, we have other business too, though.
Right, and then we also have, you know, CIP and everything else. So it's like, if you wanted to have it on the 6th, the first Monday, assuming that this room is available.
Well, we're not going to do much that night of the hearing, I can tell you that. Much else if we have it on our regular meeting night. We'll probably do a few things, and then we've got a lot of minutes to review. We're not going there tonight. It's 9 o'clock. We're not gonna do, so I put possible minutes down.
Mr. Chairman, one thing I can add that may help with the decision. I believe we have 12 days from the time of its posting, published, and we won't be able to get this published right away anyway.
When are you gonna get it published? Friday, right, or
I
Thursday?
think Friday is the soonest I'll be able to do it, yes. Maybe Wednesday, but.
Probably not, today's Tuesday, Monday, today's Monday. You won't get it published
Yeah.
Wednesday,
No,
no?
Wednesday, as soon as I can have it in, so Friday will be.
Yeah, it'll be Thursday, Granite State News.
So Friday, so we'll be the 13th anyway,
Yes,
if we do it on a Monday.
yes.
Let's do it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we schedule a public hearing for Monday, the 13th, to consider the, or to discuss the application.
No, I'll second that. Let's do it. 6:30 here. Or do we want the public hearing at 7?
It's up to you.
Well, usually we come in and we do a few things first, then convene the public hearing. Give people a little more time after dinner to get here. We do our minutes and all
Certainly
that.
a lot of minutes to go through.
Yeah, we get all those minutes to go through. I don't feel like it tonight. Nobody else does probably either. All right, 7 o'clock, public hearing.
Vote on it. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Huh?
I only have a motion, I don't have a second.
He made a motion,
Jerry seconded it.
and I seconded it.
I'm sorry.
He moved it. We just didn't set a time. That's why we threw that in there. So for 7 o'clock on the 13th, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Done. All right, this is
I
good.
thank the board for your time.
Well,
See you on the 13th?
Yep.
Yeah.
just gotta stay with this, George.
And the regular meeting will start at 6:30 on that.
All right, member comments,
The regular meeting starts.
6:30. Member comments?
Yeah, I've got two quick things, and I think that I'll just throw them out there so that people can be thinking about it. One is that I believe I noticed a problem in our zoning ordinance that from March 12, 2013. Page 4 of 54. And this could be my not recalling what we voted on correctly, but under non-permitted uses, item D, restriction on funding development, is there. I had thought that we had voted to move that to building lot requirements, and it's G under building lot requirements. So basically we have this restriction on funnel development in two places now. I thought that was one where
I thought we made it to remove it from there and put it over
yeah,
there.
so I think that under non-permitted uses, that D should be gone.
That's the way we structured it.
So we may want to start a process of recertifying this with that change. Or leave it there and just, do an amendment next year.
Okay,
Get rid of it. But I think we just need to do the research to see what our warrant article said. And if our warrant article wasn't clear, we should vote on it next year. If it was clear, and this is just, we just didn't touch it, then we should just go ahead and fix it and get it and recertify it.
You weren't here, I don't think, when we made a statement for the you might have been, I don't think you were, of what the agenda was for the planning board for the year. One of them was the light agenda. The heavy one is CIP. There's a ton to do with it. The light agenda was to reorganize our zoning ordinance.
Right, I got that, but this is, if this doesn't reflect what the people voted on, we should fix it.
If it doesn't reflect what they voted on.
Right, and if it does reflect what they voted on, this should be one of our things on the list to clean up. But I think it's just a matter of, we should just go and, maybe George can.
Well, bring it up at the meeting.
Right, so the other one was related to, I'm sort of hesitating to say this. The other one regards tent camping. And I really didn't want to bring this up during the whole voting season last year, but our zoning is really unclear, or I think our zoning doesn't say what people think it says regarding tent camping. So on page 14 of 54, it says, and it seems clear, it says, this is under Article 6, manufactured housing, travel trailers, and camping. It says, item C, a camping or travel trailer, I'm sorry, I take that back. It's, which one is it? Item B, travel trailer parks, manufactured home parks, and tent camping sites are not allowed within the town of Brookfield. That seems really clear that you can't have a campground. But then you go and look on page 44, which is in the definitions, for tent camping. So it's AAA, AAA, tent camping, any area on which are maintained one or more tents, used or intended to be used as human habitation or accommodations if compensation is made for such use. So the way I read that is that...
What's the title of this section?
Definitions. This is article, this is section.
Okay.
This is the definitions.
Definition page, all right. So read it.
Yeah, this is Article 10, definitions. And it reads, AAA, tent camping, any area on which are maintained one or more tents used or intended to be used as human habitation or accommodations if compensation is made for such use. So I see two things in there that are sort of not what I expected to see. The first is, I read this as saying that the owner of the property has to be maintaining the tents. And that if you rent, basically, and you're going to go stay there, you're basically just going into a tent that's already there, rather than like pulling your tent out of the back of your car and setting up your own tent. And the other is that compensation has to be involved. It says if compensation is made for such use, which I would think that somebody could set up 100 tents
for free,
let people come and live in them for free, and that would be allowed. And they could have 100 sites without tents on them, and they could let people come in and pay to put up a tent of their own.
But isn't that just the definition of camping?
Right, but the way, so what you do is it says tent camping, right? So now you go and read where tent camping is used, and we say we can't have any tent camping sites. Well, tent camping is specifically where the owner has a site that has a tent on it. It's the owner's tent, and you're going in and renting it. That's the only thing that's prohibited, as I read this, by our zoning. So if you had sites that had no tent on them, yeah, I think you can rent those out. Or at least that's not prohibited by Article 6.
Why did they even have to define tent camping?
I don't know. I didn't even think to look at. I just happened to stumble across it. I'm like, tent camping. Oh, it's defined. Holy crap!
That's one of those.
That's
things.
weird. And then I had to go search and see where tent camping was used. And it's like, wow, that's.
Why do they feel the need to define tent camping?
And why define it that way?
Yeah, well, that I don't know. But why would they need? Tent camping isn't anything but what it is. There was no need to make it muddled. That's crazy.
The way I think tent camping, maybe you do need to. I think tent camping is when somebody's got a bunch of sites, and you go rent a site for a night.
Technically speaking, the way this is written, it was for the reason that they didn't want to prevent people from having their kids out in a tent in the yard in the summer. So they put this compensation business in to keep people from doing it on a commercial level. But they don't want people to, when your kids set up the tents in the yard, no tent camping, and Ron Fountain or somebody can come out of the woodwork and say, you're not camping, and, no offense, Ron, if you're watching, but you would. Anyway.
I think that's maybe one of the things we want to have on our list of things to clean up this year.
There's a ton of them in here. Laura and I have talked about some of the things in the course of going through things. And she says, this is really strange. Not that I want to involve her in reworking this, because it would cost the town too much money, but we need to go through this. And some of the stuff she's organizationally told me about, this goes over here. She says, it shouldn't be there. It should be over here because of this. And she told me the legal reasons. And we ought to approach it that way. And it's not removing things or adding things, but that should be removed or changed. You're right.
It doesn't mean what people would normally think, and I don't think that we'd be necessarily happy, the people of the town would necessarily be happy with how somebody could stay within the letter of the zoning. I think people would be surprised by what's allowed and what's disallowed. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on who wants to make an issue with it.
So with regard to Laura's suggestions about structure, does she, maybe when you talk to her, maybe she has, if she can suggest a document that tells us how zoning ordinance should be constructed?
No, she did say to me, she said there are some ordinances for many towns.
Or if she can suggest one or
That she
two,
could suggest, she said that they did a good job, and the reason for that is, one of the chairmen of the board was probably an attorney, and he helped structure it.
Right.
You know, they were very...
If she could suggest either a document that describes how we should structure it or some examples.
Examples she can.
Maybe you can get those from her, and it'll give us a good starting point.
Yeah,
Well, we'll probably have to buy them, but...
I would think that might be a
No,
good
it's been a long
investment,
time.
because the town thinks they have this, and we want to make sure that we do indeed have what we think we have, i.e. this thing.
Well, a lot of it is structurally screwed up, and, you know,
It's just got to be able to stand up in court.
pretty much, but it's also got to, what he just picked up right there,
That would stand up in court, it just doesn't mean what we think it.
That's
Well,
what we
well,
think
yes
we
and
are.
no, yes and no, yes and no. Let me tell you, one thing I understand from after talking to Laura on all these different issues is that you're still dealing with a judge who is not always objective but subjective sometimes. And the judge will say what the spirit of the law is, and regardless of how it's worded, he can actually, and well, what the Ninth Court does all the time, he'll say no. I don't care what it says here, that's not really what the intent of the designers of this law were. And you'd be surprised how subjective it can get. Because Laura said that to me a number of times. I said, is that going to win in court? And she goes, well, I'm not saying that. You know.
I think the best we can do is try to make it say what we want it to mean.
You're right. No,
And
agreed.
we can hope that somebody's not going to interpret it the wrong way.
Yep.
This, I think, says what we don't want it to mean, and you're suggesting that maybe somebody would interpret the way we would want.
No, I know. But that might happen. You know, I mean, you don't know. But you're right, it needs to be fixed. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Okay, are we all done with comments?
Well, I just want to comment that I think it's important that we follow what Rob's lead tonight on what we did, because you have to follow the process that we said we're going to follow. And I think it's important. I want to thank you for doing it, making us go through all that stuff.
We did this 2 years ago, exactly like that.
Well, we had a feeling we weren't going to go through all of it tonight, and it was important that we go through it, because that makes it very legal. So, thanks, Rob.
Very good, Rob.
I think there's just too many things on the list.
We did it
It'd be
like
easy to
that
bury
last
one if you weren't paying attention to it. I think whether we made the right decisions or the wrong decisions, at least we clearly made a decision on each of those items. And so somebody may argue they didn't like what our decision was, but they can't argue that we didn't, that we glossed over it.
That's right. That's right.
Are we all done? I think we are. The meeting adjourned.